What a game. What a game. Hello, everybody. I don't expect to be many people in this stream tonight because of that Super Bowl, but let's just get the share screen going. Hope everybody's doing well. What a one-sided, lopsided game so far. It's kind of boring, but let's take a look who's in the house. Stephen Vig. Who is the better golfer, Patrick Mahomes or Jalen Hurts? So I got your video, Stephen. I'm going to do a video on those two sometime this week to show their cause and effect. It's a tough call, though. There's a lot of good athletes out there that can play the game of golf and hit the ball a ton. So, all right, let's get started. Okay, so we've got a few of us today. We got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have a few extra submissions. I don't think we'll get to them today. They were late submissions that came in today. So I know that I believe 1 or 2 of them might be watching, but you'll be on next Sunday. And let's keep just to let you guys know as well, the YouTube channel might be going on a little hold for some time. I have to outfit a completely new operation in Palm Desert, so I might be extremely busy. I'll try to get some videos up whenever I can, and I'll let you know about Sundays. But so far, we're going to plan for Sundays, keeping on going. But other than that, that's the latest update. I'll keep you guys in the loop, though. All right, first up, we have Joe, and I don't know if Joe is on right now or not. Hopefully, Joe, you're watching. If not, you're probably watching the Super Bowl. But this is Joe, and he sent in a couple of updates for us, and I just wanted to bring this to your attention because this is the latest updates, and we're going to go straight to the face on. And we didn't change much in Joe. We started to talk about his setup and how he was forward pressing. If you take a look, if we go back to the beginning here, you know, when we first saw Joe, and this was after Joe's first lesson, I couldn't find Joe's original submission, but you can see this big forward press here versus now there's less of a forward press, which is great because now he doesn't have to recontour that angle, which can be a little bit challenging for some people. And that angle right now is we're definitely swinging down if we just maintain ourselves. But remember, when you start to transition your weight shift, when you start to add these forces, obviously you're going to lead with your left side. That's going to tip your upper body back to counteract that. So at impact, this spine angle becomes more like this. Now, if you maintain that same wrist hinge, and you probably have more wrist hinge, you're probably going to hit dead on the ground over here, or you have to really exaggerate to tilting motion to push your hands out further to catch that same angle. So this is something that most of us cannot do. And by forward pressing, all you're really doing is trying to cheat the system, and you will start to throw your hands. So we take a look at the new setup on the right side that Joe did a much better job with, and we're going to look down at impact and see the results of this. So you won't notice much motion changes just because Joe is somewhat limited with his motion changes. But I want you to go right at this impact position, and right before we strike the golf ball, let's go to that frame there. So what can we tell from both of these? The new setup, even though it's the same body positions, look at where the hands are located. So the one on the right side, we can see that the hands are actually maintaining that forward press because they're on this side of the original setup. Where the old one, where are they? They're behind the original forward press, and they're starting to throw. So we're actually carrying over some more weight distribution as a result. Look at how much more the body is over the golf ball on the new position. So we're going to look at this area here. Let's draw this in red. So we're going to look at how much body is over that line where he started with. And now look at the little bit of body here. So we have more body located behind the golf ball. Now, when you're trying to strike down with an iron, you would like more body slightly ahead of the golf ball, which is where Joe is now, because he's carrying the angle. He doesn't have to rely on the hands to manipulate at impact. And you can see right as we strike the golf ball, let's clear up these lines here and take a look at the hand position. So look at the hands. The hands are up to the lead leg, where before here they're kind of in the middle of the legs. So just by changing your forward press, even though you have the same positions, your same body limitations, you are able to carry so much more over to that golf ball. So I wanted to keep you abreast of that and make sure you always double check not only your ball position, but you don't want to manufacture forward press at the start of your swing. This leads to a lot of compensations. And unless you're incredibly gifted, and you can look and point at all these tour pros out there that forward press, but they're tour pros. I mean, they're gifted. They found the way to repeat themselves, and it's not right or wrong. All you're doing is giving yourself more things to change in the downswing. And if you can't repeat it constantly, that's how your dispersions come about. You start hitting it too far right, too far left. And it's, remember, handicap is not how well you hit the ball, it's how bad you miss the ball. So your job as golfers is to increase your misses. In other words, not increase the amount of misses, but increase the quality of your misses. We all miss the ball. It doesn't matter if you're the best in the world or not, but they miss it tighter and they can recover better. So keep that in mind. Great job, Joe. I appreciate it. Keep up the good work. And I love, look at this homemade, look at that back brace line. He's just got a piece of foam in the back. So you don't need to go out and spend, 50, 60, 70 bucks on the latest gadget. Just use what you got at home. Most of this stuff that you get online and, it's just garbage, man. Just find something that you can work with at home. So everybody has that stuff. And if you need help figuring out some stuff to do, let me know. What's up, Joe? Joe just jumped right in. Hopefully, Joe, you saw all that stuff and you heard all that stuff. So great job with that forward press reduction. You can see so much more body motion, and especially at the end. I mean, just look at that follow through at the very end. Look at how much, especially here. So look at how much more of your weighting is over this foot here. Where back here, if we draw that straight line, you can see there's less. There's more body back here. So you're definitely getting more over to your impact line just by that change. So good job. You're increasing your rotation. And Joe said, he sent me a nice email saying that he's seen his numbers go up where he wants to go. And it's just, he's working on the right things now. And he's been watching the videos. And he also said that he's getting a lot of, feedback on what cause and effect is, and to stop chasing your own tail by trying all this other stuff. So I appreciate your support, Joe, and all of you guys watching. So let's pull up who is next here while we got the stream going. And why can't I find my videos? There they go. All right. So first up, unfortunately, we can't use this video because there's no golf ball. And you can get away with murder without a golf ball. So we're just going to have to use what he gave us on the down the line. This one. Okay, so let's pull up his notes, and these are out of order. You got to forgive me. Been a little bit busy. So Tate, I believe this is Tate. So hopefully, Tate, if you're on, just say hello. If not, no worries. You can get to me in the notes later. You're probably watching the Super Bowl, although it's not much of a game. How's it going? Was hoping you could take a look at my swing. I struggle at times hitting behind the ball, and I tend to hit my irons and wedges higher than I'd like to. I don't know if it's a lack of rotation or what, but I was curious what you thought. Okay, so some height. So there must be some angle manipulation that impacts. So there's static loft and dynamic loft. So static loft is what your club is measured out to. Dynamic loft is what your club is at impact. And a couple of things can change this: forward pressing, and getting your weight, getting your hands ahead, de-lofting the club. That's going to change your dynamic loft. If you throw your hands, that means you're going to add some loft. So I'm assuming there might be some throwing of the hands to add some loft, but we'll have to check this out. And let's just bring up Barney, because this is a great line to bring up. Look at that. Perfect Barney purple. So let's take a look at your setup first of all, before we start looking at your swing. And we're going to split the difference. So arches of the heels are there. So you can see there's definitely a very toe-based swing. A lot of weight in the toes. This could, it depends on how you work with this. I mean, obviously we're going to see some compensations because the weight is so far forward in the toes. And we could see, either the body's going to stay there, the arms are going to compensate, or the body's going to move and the arms will have to compensate that body move. So either way, there's going to be compensations. So let's just take a look. This is slow motion. So let's go from there. All right. See some loss of tilt. Club gets below. Yeah, see some hands. And that's why it's really important for that face on view, because the face on view without a golf ball, you can forward pressure, you have these beautiful impact positions, but if that golf ball's not there, you can get away with stuff. But if that golf ball's there, you start throwing, you start getting back to what you were normally doing. So we definitely see some posture loss. We see the weight stuck in the toes because it is so toe heavy, especially that finish. You see how everything recoils off to the toes and you're spinning out on your toes. So this is definitely setup bound. I know this probably feels very natural for you, but I would assume if we change your setup position, specifically with the weighting more centered, it might definitely help you so you don't have to throw your hands at impact. So let's take a look at this. We're going to draw a yellow back brace line. We're going to do it all the way down. Usually I just do it on the rear end, but we're going to go all the way down just to see. And we're going to predetermine where your shoulder tilt should be, and we'll do it in the top yellow. Okay, so we don't have too confusing. There we go. Okay, so that's a roughly government work. That looks about 90. Let's back it up. It doesn't look quite 90. All right, let's just say that looks closer to that. Okay, so that's where if you can maintain your spine angle and your tilt relative to your spine angle, that's where your shoulders should be at the top. Okay, so we're going to keep that in mind. So we take that club back. You can see you do a relatively good job of letting your hands go on that lower plane line. So you're doing pretty good there. Club face is pretty close to that spine angle, so everything's relative. We see the shoulders staying relatively good. Get to the top secondary plane line. Now we see the arms are going to wind up slightly lower than they should be. And we could take a look at this, the shoulder tilt. So, we take a look at, and this is a cool thing to look at. Is usually they wind up the same number. So if we take a look, can we zoom in just in case I destroy the computer? So we're going to zoom in quite a bit here just to make sure. So let's do this one in blue. So let's take a look at this angle, which is 12 degrees. Okay, so we know that's 12. Let's get rid of that one. And now let's look at this angle. See, it did it. All right, so we're stuck with that blue line there now. So let's see if we can do this again. And this is 14 degrees. So you see how they're somewhat similar, right? We have 12 and 14. So you can see the shoulder tilt raising lowers your hands the same amount. So this is why it's important to keep your shoulder tilting corrected on your spine angle. And if you can't keep it corrected, your arms are going to be in a different position. Doesn't mean it's bad. Doesn't mean it's good. It's just different. And now it's up to your body to recontour and get the back on plane. So setup is a huge thing, and working with your setup correctly. So let's zoom in so it's good enough there. All right, so we know that the left shoulder raised up out of posture, which then lowered the hands. But remember, you are on a toe-based swing. So now you've got a flatter arm position than what it should be with a toe-based swing. Now, what did we learn about toe-based swings? Is typically they're a steeper plane, and heel-based swings are flatter planes. So now you've got something going on. You've got a toe-based swing with a flatter arm position because you lost your tilt. So now we've got some issues. Do we recover from this? And can we clear those lines up? We might be stuck with that. Okay, we're stuck with that blue. So I have to redraw this one. And this is the unfortunate thing about this program, is if you start getting these lines too close, it shuts your program down. All right, so let's take a look. So because your right shoulder is lower than your left, you're probably going to come a little bit inside, which you do right there. So your club now is below that plane line. We're starting to lose angle, and there goes your hands, right? So your hands are throwing, and they're probably adding loft. So your dynamic loft and impact is probably more than what it started out at static. So you're losing posture. You can see your spine angles back up to here. And when you lose posture, your club falls below that plane even more. So you're getting trapped. Everything's trapping itself. And as you finish, look at your weighting. Your weighting is just falling to the toes even more. So look how much you've come off of your body. So that was your starting line, and then this is your finishing line. And then your spine angle is trying to do its job to stay in there, but it's just too late. So you're running out of real estate. A lot of this is setup based. So if this was you and me working, obviously I'd explain that. It's probably not going to be an easy fix for you as it looks. I mean, it's simple to say, oh, just stand closer and stand a little bit more taller so you don't have to you keep your tilt in relation, but it's going to feel a little odd. So it would be nice to know if you've gotten fitted for clubs, if you're trying to fit these clubs, or if the clubs are fitting you, or if it's, a nice marriage. So that's step number one. Step number two is definitely adjusting the way you set up, in my opinion. So let's just take a look at where you finish and see what naturally occurs where you finish. So you take a look right there. And let's go to the start. So you can see this is basically where you would probably want to try and set up, as opposed to being so much over. I don't know how tall you are, so notes would have been helpful, but maybe a little bit taller, but that also means your feet need to be underneath you more. So if you take a look at where your feet are supporting, if we draw some straight lines, do we have the straight line? Yes, we do. 995, we got to pay for straight lines. Vertical line, why isn't it doing vertical? Look at this. So let's draw a horizontal line. Let's see if that works. Look at that. So horizontal is backwards. I don't know what's going on here. So you would like, the arches of your heels to support the center of your hips. That's basically what you're trying to do. So if we draw from the arches of this right heel, you can see it's nowhere near that center of your hip. So it feels like your hips need to be more supported, which will bring your weighting more centered over your feet. Because if they're not centered, now you're going to be fighting that centeredness. And because you're reaching forward, that's also going to increase your tilt forward. And when your tilt forward is now, your shoulders have to tilt more to keep it in relation. And because you can't do that at the top of your swing, you lose the shoulder tilt. Then your arms get out of whack. They're flatter instead of being naturally steeper with a toe based. And you can see the issues from there. And your hands have to really throw. So dynamic loft is probably added, 3 or 4 degrees, and that's why you probably launch the ball up in the air too high. It probably, depending on your driver, you could probably hit the ball decent with your driver, depending on where that golf ball is situated. In terms of the ball position, since these are backwards, let's see if we can do this there. It's very hard to tell from this point of view, but just by taking that line straight back, maybe your ball position's off too. So your ball position could be too far on your right side, which could also cause you to throw too soon, because when you transfer that weight, you have to get the golf ball quicker because that ball position's moved further back on your right side. So that face on is very key. So if you guys do send me videos, please just make sure there is a face on as well and down the line, because I don't want to start, misdiagnosing stuff. But just by this view and what I can see, hopefully that helps you. It is posture loss, but it's mainly your setup issue. So this is, again, setup is so important because it's all how you manipulate yourself based on your setup. And can you stay in your spine angle? That's it. That's all you want to look at. So give yourself a setup where you can stay in your spine angle and then just develop from there. Your arms will work their way around what you give them. You take a look at the best in the world. Let's play this. Best in the world. And I've said this so many times in all my videos. I've done a video on this about what common things the best in the world have. It's not their arm movements. It's not their shoulder tilts. It's not their rotations. It's their ability to stay in their posture at impact. So if you go to their impact position and you draw that little stick figure and you go to the starting position, that little stick figure is going to be exactly the same. Some gain more, some bend more down because they're pushing the weight back to their back heel. So there's definitely, that's your number one goal as amateurs. Look at your impact position, look at your starting point, draw that little stick figure. If you are out of your posture, I don't care what you need to do, find a way to get in your posture. And it's probably a setup issue. If you need to adjust your setup to give you a better chance to stay in your posture, do it. If that means you need to stand taller and closer because it's easier to stay in that posture, do it. Just work with your body limitations. That you're only capable of working with what God gave you. I'm not a believer in God, but that's a good saying. So hopefully that makes sense. What's up, Eric? Peace and greetings to the chat. Hope everyone's doing okay tonight. Yeah, soon we're going to start getting more people in because I'm looking at the score. It's 34-0. So some guys might be traipsing pretty soon. All right. Hope that helps you, Tate. If you want to send me that face on, please do. And also, if you have some extra notes for me, that will definitely help. All right. Let's see who is next. Nelly Cole likes to hit a draw. How does she strike the ball so well with the ball back in her stance? Well, ball back in your stance promotes a draw. Ball forward in your stance promotes a fade because it has to do with the path of your club entering as you strike the golf ball. So typically, if your ball's back in your stance, you're going to make contact with the ball with a path that's moving slightly right of the target because of the way the circle comes in. And that's going to give you a path right now. If you keep your club face, 1 degree closer to your path, that's going to be a nice draw. So you can definitely hit a draw with the ball in the back. Where if you think about this, when I first got in the industry, we thought ball position right caused a slice. So it just shows you how backwards we were. But yeah, that's definitely how she hits a draw. So appreciate that comment. All right, let's see who's next. We have this looks like Joe. No, not Joe. I already did Joe. There we go, Mark. All right, Mark. So no real notes on this one either. He just kind of wants me to go over his cause and effect. Hopefully, Mark, you're on right now. Let's just take a look at this swing and see what happens. Pure cause and effect. So if you're on, Mark, can you just let me know? Okay, if I were to have to guess, I haven't guessed when everybody's from. I used to do that a lot in the Reddit. I'm gonna say you're from somewhere in Texas. Looks very flat. Isn't Texas very flat? I would guess that you play a lot of pulls and a lot of fades, but let me know if you're in the chat. If not, we'll have to just take a guess. All right. So if you guys had to look at this, what would you say about that ball position right off the bat? So we're going to set it up at the beginning. Go ahead and comment while I draw my little stick figures here. And we're going to draw a back brace line. And we're going to draw the shoulder tilt. Draw this in yellow. So shoulder tilt's looking good. I like the club position though. Look at that. Hands go right. So that's a great setup. Yes, Freddie Mercury forward. Too far forward. Should fade a slice. That's correct. Yes. So now it could be a camera angle. I don't know. It could be shot too far to the left, but it looks like it's pretty centered. But yeah, I totally agree with everybody here. If you take a look at that ball position, I mean, that's a lot to make up. So unless you've got, think about how he's going to meet, this area to this area. It's going to be a lot of movement going this way with his hips. So his hips have got to get way out to there for it to reconnect. And that's a very hard thing. I think the swing is really good, though. I mean, it's a pretty loose swing. There's not much moving parts from this view, at least. He stays in connection there, so it looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit of extra arm motion that he has to reconnect down at impact. But you see the motions are there. I mean, if that impact line is here, he's already on his impact line. He's starting to face the target. Look at that angle retention. So this is a really good swing. And then right as he gets down into there, there is not much hand manipulation. So, this is a hard one. Let's take a look at the down the line and see if we see anything there. Let's zoom in. And let's draw some lines so we can see any loss of posture. So maybe shoulders are a little bit open, and that makes kind of sense. If that ball's too far forward, you're going to start opening up to get to that golf ball. So you might want to just check that ball position. But remember, if you check that ball position, it might throw off your release pattern. So it's not like it's going to cure anything, but it might give you a better position to get there eventually. So let's take a look at this. Yeah, already loss of tilting there. Yeah, same sort of thing. So we see this, and it's not too bad to lose your tilting with the driver, just because you want to swing up on it anyway, and it helps you flatten out. So this isn't too bad of an issue, but you can definitely see the shoulders raising up, and as a result, the hands get slightly lower than they need to. But that means that those should be relative to each other, right? So the more you lose your tilting left, meaning left high, the more your hands should be going down. So maybe his hands have learned as he loses his tilting, his hands also start to raise up. So there might be some disconnection. So we might see a little steepness here. We'll take a look though, because of that, with that right shoulder already further down for his downswing, it could be compensating that pretty well. So yeah, it's still steep there. So we see that club getting a little bit high. So that steepness is probably caused by the hands, disconnecting slightly and raising up to try and compensate for the lack of shoulder tilt. Yeah, look how low that club comes out. So definitely path left, some hand manipulation, and we start to lose our posture. So, you take a look at that impact position. We were starting to stand up and our new spine angle's up, which, again, it's not a killer for drivers because all this stuff does help you to get a little bit shallower, but you can see he should be shallower than he is. I hate that word. He should be flatter than he is, but that manipulation of the hands to get up to that secondary plane line because of the loss of shoulder tilting threw him off. So he's going to be a little bit steeper. So I would say there's a couple of things you need to try to do. Number one is possibly move that ball position back, unless there was a camera issue, but we're all in agreement that this is a little bit too far forward. And secondly, your setup looks okay. I mean, it looks pretty neutral, but there is some distribution issues at impact. So you kind of shaft hump it a little bit. Your number one concern for me, at least, is to, again, try to at least stay in that posture. So you might want to tinker around with maybe, distance of the golf ball might help you out, but specifically from your transfer. So as you get to the top of your position here, we can see the transfer goes a little bit toe based, and that right foot doesn't quite push back to the left heel enough so you feel like this upper body's going down. But it could be tough because your hands have to go more around because they start a little bit steeper. I'd say take it from the beginning. start with the ball position. We don't want to get too carried away and have you starting to reinvent your golf swing from one video here. It's not fair to you. So definitely start with your ball position. That's going to help your shoulders. It's going to help align your shoulders back to the target. You can see they're opening up to get to that ball position. So in relation, let's go to the front to help you determine what the ball position should be. Let's say we go from here. That's where the ball should be, at the bare minimum, maybe even a little bit further back, because remember, you want to try. It's a funny thing, the golf swing. It's not just straight, it's hard to imagine, but the golf swing moves in all different directions. It's not a circle front view and a circle back view. It's like a three-dimensional circle that always changes. And that ball position plays a huge part. So that ball position right now is warranting a fade all day long, unless you get your hands involved at impact to try and close that club face to counteract that. But then you're going to have the pulls if you don't do it enough. And it can lead to two-way misses pretty quickly. I like your setup. I like the way that things are connected to that center of your chest. So if you take a look at this golf club, it does point to the center of the chest. So it's great. You just need to close yourself up. So close the shoulders up, and that'll bring your hands a little bit more, closer to the center. So your hands might be there by closing your shoulders up. And that's where the ball should be. You don't want to start reaching. Look at that. If your ball can be there, it's just inside your left heel. That's fine. At least it's going to be struck in the bottom of the arc, somewhat straight on the path. If that ball's left of you, your path is going to be left all day long, unless you start to compensate. And you might be compensating about open your shoulders, but then that's going to give you a steeper path. So it's just a little bit of too much compensation for the ball position. So start there, back it up. This is probably a good 2 club widths back at a club head widths to back up your ball position. Feel like you close the shoulders. Do that for like a week to 2 weeks. Just send me another update, and that way I can go from there, because I don't want to start chopping up your swing too much. But you did ask for a cause and effect, so hopefully that answers your information here. Have you ever had a hole-in-one? I've had 6 hole-in-ones, and I've almost had a hole-in-one on a par 4. It was a shorter par 4. It was about 320 in Colorado, so I had altitude, and there was a group on the green, and I was like, yeah, I was hitting it okay. I was like, there's no way I'm going to fly it to the hole. I might run it up there. And sure enough, it landed 30, 40 yards short, and it just bounced up and dribbled right to the hole. And I was yelling 4, and the people turned around. They were just raising their hands up. That thing was tracking, and it stopped about an inch of going in the hole. So yes, I have almost got a hole-in-one on the par 4, but that's my legacy, and that's probably my last one. I don't think I'll ever have another one. All right, let's see who is next. Did that one, did this one. Okay, so this one came with a lot of notes, and I appreciate that. So this one is, where is he? Tom. All right, Tom, kudos to your wife. She was out there filming in this cold weather, so kudos to both of you. All right, been playing for 30 years. Had the opportunity to take lessons from, along the way, Hank Haney, before he's famous, and Fred Schumacher in Carmel Valley. He's now in Texas, so I should have just guessed Texas. And I'm so disappointed with that game. I want to give up. Don't give up. That's why we're here. I want you to be brutally honest with my sorry swing. Don't talk to yourself like that. I'm close to 70, and I seem to be going on a downward spiral, but I don't want to. I'm 6'4", about 235. I used to really unleash even before COVID. I was at 108 to 110. I'm assuming that's miles per hour club head speed. I'm a little slower now, but I can go to 102, 104. Attached to my video, my increasingly sorry swing with a fast developing one predominant miss, hitting a ball face on. Again, as I watch the pros on TV, and I'm not on TV, I will, of course, miss them a few ways. Okay, so he's got a 2-way miss. But if I could just solve this one, I'd be so happy, and so would my wife, from not having to listening to my complaining. All right. Yeah, he says he's now down the YouTube rabbit hole for the past 2 years. Ooh, that's tough. We don't want YouTube rabbit holes. All right, let's take a look at the swing. And I believe he explains a couple things. So let's just start it right there. All right, so I see a lot of, tightness in that swing. Good setup, though. I mean, that's a really good setup, but it's very tight. especially in the follow through. I mean, look at your arms can't release correctly. You're starting to lose posture going into the golf ball. Hopefully you're on, Mark. Okay, let's see from the face on. All right, we got some we got some replay footage, it looks like. Okay, yeah, same sort of thing. I see limited motion, especially right at impact. Okay, so let's break this down. All right, so let's do Barney's going to be hard to see here, so let's just do some easy to see lines. Hopefully that's easy for you guys to see. Let's zoom in. Let's get some blue. Nah, blue's too hard. Let's go red. Red for the spine. That's probably not a good choice, but hopefully you guys can see that. So arch of the heels straight up. Look at that. It's a pretty solid setup. You can definitely see some knee flexion, arms hanging down, fairly natural. It's a little bit tug inside, but it's okay. Let's take a look at the swing on the way back and let's see what happens. Okay, the arms are breaking away slightly. Weight shifting to the toes. All right. Yeah, we're starting to make up for that by getting the arms involved. And then we're trapped here. Yeah, this is a very hard swing to develop consistency. You can see so much motion into the golf ball. You see both toes are planted in, they're receiving a lot of the weight, so the motion's moving in. And once you move in, you run out of real estate, specifically with the hand pulling back to make up for something. So you have to look at what it's making up for. And then as we strike it, you can see there's just not a lot of room to work with. So at this last ditch effort, we've got to start to turn to try and get out of our way of our right elbow and our arms. And we can see we catch it right on the heel. So this is a close to that S word we don't like to say. But yeah, you can definitely see in right there, there's not a lot of movement because everything's moving in and the hands are going. So you don't see a lot of rotation through. There's not a lot of pulling with the body. So very powerful, very big man. Unfortunately, his body's kind of going against him. So we got to get him to free up and get his body to go with him because there should be no reason why it's struggling so much, especially with that setup. That's a really good setup. So let's take a look at the predetermined shoulder tilt and see what happens there. Let's go in green. We'll try and get this as close to 90 as we can. And these are eyeballs, right? So we're not going to get perfect. Oh, yeah. So look at that. Now, specifically with an iron, for the irons, you definitely want to try and maintain your tilt relationship because that just helps you get steeper. And wow, that's a horrible color. Let's go blue. I think blue should be good there. Okay, so we do see that raising up of the shoulders again. And the arms are getting there, but then that extra makeup there is trying to get that arm to get to that secondary plane line to provide some room to work with. And I assume with that extra arm motion, now you're starting to tip the other way because anytime you lift your hands up, you start tipping towards the target. So we'll look at the front view, but this is a very, very hard triangle to work with. And so the triangle, let's do this in yellow. You can see this triangle is pointing straight down. And the problem is we don't have the room to use this, specifically knowing that he goes into his toes. So if the triangle is going to work straight down and you're going into the toes, your arms are going to run right into your body. And we know that triangle is not set naturally. It's a makeup. So that the right arm is kind of flared out, which is okay to flare out, but if you have the room to use it with, and now we're just trapped. So immediately look at that. The hands move way to the right of that triangle. So that's very steep. And your right arm's flying. There's nowhere for it to go. So it just has to kind of funnel out and power down at the golf ball. So yeah, you definitely need to work on your tilt turn relationship. So do you, I don't know if you're on right now, but it would be nice if you had some information about his clubs. So let's do, why did I erase that one? Let's drill this in blue so it's easier to see. So basically, if this club, does he say what club this is? No. So if this club is fitted for him, you probably want to stand a little bit further away or move the ball position a little bit further away just to get your arms to hang down naturally because they do get a little tight here. You want them to be a little bit more naturally down so you have some spacing to work with. That's number one. So that's the setup change from the back. Oh, there you go, Tom. I'm on 2 degrees upright. Okay. 6 iron. 1 over. Okay. So thanks for that. You definitely need some spacing, Tom. Hopefully you can see what we saw. You just get crashed. So there's not a lot of room to work with in this area here. Can you guys see my mouse? Hopefully. Give yourself some area. Let these arms hang down a little bit more naturally so you at least have some area to work with. But this first move back, the left shoulder, instead of working down, goes towards your toes and starts to raise up. So now you're pushing even more weight. Look at your toes. I mean, they're stuck in the ground. And this left shoulder gets too out of its position. So you're moving forward, left shoulder's coming up, and to make up for that, your right arm gets extended to help you back there. So you want to try again to maintain your posture. Do we do a good job coming through impact? You can see the spine angle is relatively close, but you've definitely moved into the golf ball. There's your impact position there. And let's go to your starting position, and you can see there. So you've lost, I don't know what that is, 3 inches. And you're standing a little bit too close to the golf ball anyway, so you don't have much room to work with. Let's go from the face on and see here. Let's zoom in and see what that extra arm position does to you in the backswing. Let's get you all set up. Okay, but other than that, I mean, your setup looks good other than just standing a little bit too close. Give yourself some room. You're a big guy. You need that room to work with. Let's put an impact line here to see how you work with that. Let's check your shoulder tilting to make sure that's looking good. Okay, maybe a tad bit too far forward for a 6, but it's okay. And maybe you gave yourself that extra room for the 6. And I know there might be some camera movement, so we can do our best to see if you stay in your posture, which it looks like you do pretty good. Obviously, the camera's moving right, but that little motion there for your hands. So that's basically, if you can stop your turn there, you're a big, strong guy. That's all you need. You're still keeping your hands out in front. So if you take a look at your shoulder tilt, your turn, your hands are still out in front. That little bit of extra motion, you start to slip your hands back to the right side. That's that flying right elbow. And that's probably to get the feeling that the club is closer to parallel, but you don't need that club closer to parallel. Look at what Tiger did in the 2000s. Like, his whole purpose in the golf swing was to stop it there. That's what his goal was, to keep it truly connected to his turn and tilt, and then just move more with the body. You're the kind of guy that has been gifted with a big body. You need to hit this ball with the body. Right now, you're hitting it with your hands because your hands have to compensate so much. So that's where I'd recommend you trying to at least stop the backswing to keep you more connected, to stop this extra motion. But then from the down the line view, you've got to make sure your shoulders stay level to the tilt, the initial bend forward. So if that left shoulder is going up, it needs to stay more down. And that's going to get your hands to rise up more naturally. Because if I lift my left shoulder up, my hands will move back down. I'll be flatter, and you compensate by getting your hand up there. So left shoulder more down, keeps your hands higher. Now you can strike down the golf ball more naturally, but you have to create that room. So that weight distribution has to be to your back left heel as you drive down into the golf ball. But as you can see, when you come on down through, you get that weight distribution with your body, but your hand here, you can see it has no room. So what does it have to do? It has to fire. So look at that impact position here. This is a very hard position to get some sort of, consistency going, because if you take a look, even if you see if you're connected from here, because that hand's so active, the club's already passed through facing your right shoulder. Next frame is going to be more under. So look at this, like it's off your body at that point. It should still be at least on your body at that point. That means that your hands are flipping and not really releasing either. You can see that left arm, it's in this position. And why is it in that position? Because it's not rolling over to release. It's being flipped. So your right hand is, because it has to get back out in front, it's doing like this action. So that's going to mess with your club face, dynamic loft. At impact, it's going to be open, close. It could be, pulls, pushes. So a lot of this is just being trapped. You're trapping yourself. So does that make sense to you, Tom? Do you need more explanation about that? Clearly, the proof is in the pictures here. So for you, look at this. At this point, worst case, if you can get your hands, even if they start crossing back to your left side at that point, look how far behind they are. And the hands have done all the work. This is gold, Tom. Hope you're taking notes. Yeah, you got it, Eric. This is gold. Got it. You got it. All right. We all got it, right? So for you, You got to stand further back, let your arms hang down naturally. Then as you turn, make sure your tilting is going down. It's okay wherever your hands want to go naturally, but you've got to stay more connected at the top. So a good drill for you is when you're on, let's just play this in the background. We can see that slow motion replay there. So when you are at the drain, see that bucket behind you? I want you to grab that bucket when you're at the range. And I want you to just hold it from side to side. I want you to get in your posture. Let your hands hang down naturally. Then I want you to pull it into your chest like this. And then I want you to focus on turning your body and then also tilting your shoulders. So you need to feel like your left shoulder is going more down, because it will probably feel like that, even though all we're doing is keeping things relative. You've been so used to your left shoulder going up. So your left shoulder goes down. And then once you get to that full turn where you feel like your body's saying, hey, I can't do this anymore, then just push your hands out, straight out towards you, as wide as they will go. You'll probably start to feel some stretching on your left side. You might feel some stretching on your hamstrings, wherever that is. That's telling you that's the area you need to focus on stretching. So once a day, if you can, stretch those areas, but you need that stretch to tell you where your limitations are. And if you don't feel any stretch in your swing now, that's because you're coming out of your posture. Anytime you come out of your posture, you lose all that stretch. From that point, now you just get used to driving and turning and keep your hands more out in front of your chest. And you'll probably find that when you do that, you'll still go to your toes. So you need to feel like as you drive and turn, you're driving into the target. Remember the forces, right? We drive left, then we turn, and that turning and tilting get your hands to move ahead. But if you can't turn and tilt, what's left? Your hands have to cross and help out. So they had to cross and help out because you ran out of room. You were driving into the golf ball. Now you have to pull back. So top of the swing, get your weight to your heels. You're going to create a lot more spacing to work with. Turn and tilt. It will help you out. It's not going to be a very easy fix because some of this is setup based, but most of this is your tilting. And it's probably due to the fact that your body's not quite capable of being in positions it was 10, 15, 20 years ago. And slowly it's just kind of migrated to this position. So I don't know if you stretch, but you really got to stretch. You know, I don't stretch enough and I'm 47. So if I can't imagine at 70 where I'd probably be in a wheelchair at that point, knowing my sedentary lifestyle. But you need to stretch. You got to do lat stretches, hamstring stretches, every day. It's amazing what it can do for you. When I do focus on stretching, man, my swing feels so much better. So hope that helps you, Tom. Let me know how it goes. Check in with me. And we got one more. Let me see. How's the game? Is the game any better? Oh, yeah, it's over. All right. Last one. Let's zoom in. Let's play this and see what's going on. This is Marco. All right. Another one. First lines. I hate my swing. Come on, man. You're gifted with your swing. We got to figure out a way to make this swing work. You can't just say, I hate my swing. I hate my swing. My left arm bending causes disconnection, which requires precise timing. When I get to the top, my feel is to twist my ribs a little more, which sets my wrist and also gives me enough time to strike the ball solid. My misses are fat pulls and toe hooks. I've always played a draw, but when I'm playing my best, I try desperately to have a fade, which for me is a 5-yard draw. That sounds like me sometimes. If I can get it off the tee, I'm usually around par. But when I can't, I'm in the mid-80s. Okay, so there's a big dispersion here. So this is a very timing-oriented player. My short game saves me a lot. Short game is key. So when I see somebody, one of the first questions I ask students is when they first, oh, you're on? Okay, perfect. So one of the first things I ask my students is, what's the worst that you've played in the last 6 months? And what's the best that you played in the last 6 months? And if I get a student that says, hey, the worst I played is 95, the best I played is 88. I'm like, okay, so it's not that too, it's not bad. You don't see a huge dispersion of those numbers. But if you find somebody that says, hey, the best I played was 71, the worst I played was 95. It's like, whoa, you got a 24 shot dispersion. So something is off. And that usually means that that person is very timing oriented. And that's good, but it's also bad, because when you're timing oriented, that means you get away with a lot of moving parts. And we can see the swing that's playing right now has a lot of motion, a lot of moving parts. So it does require a lot of golf balls being hit. We see a lot of sliding going on, maybe to make up for ball position issues, a lot of turn, maybe a lot of tilt issues. So this one's going to be challenging. My grip pressure now is about as light as possible without dropping the club, which enables me to swing my hands through the ball with a lot of freedom. I spent the last year chasing speed, which I think ruined my technique. All right. P.S. I'm the one who suggested Crazy Ivan Red. Thanks for the suggestion, by the way. That was a good name. All right, so let's break this down. You guys have seen the swing alignment. What do you think about this swing? Let me know in the comments while I draw my beautiful patented lines. These aren't patented. Let's see here. All right, let's zoom in. Nice neighbor, nice yard, man. This is beautiful. I want to come. You should do a little short game challenge out there for the channel. All right. Back brace line. Let's go with an impact line to see that motion. Let's set up some spine tilting. Looks like a lot of tilt going on there. Yeah, it looks like a lot of tilt. Are these clubs, did you get fitted for clubs? Okay, so we have a little disconnection there. Golf ball position. All right, so let's see where the slide comes from. What club is this, by the way, if you can let me know, Marco? Oh, yeah. Okay. We got a lot going on here. Yeah, I see where the timing is. This one's going to be a challenge. And I don't mean it like in a negative way. It's just going to be very challenging for you to change. Marco, how long have you been playing golf? And have you had any lessons in that time? Is this all just self-taught? I got fitted and 7-iron. Okay. Yeah, there's, setup really dictates this whole swing. So if you look at your low points of your circle that you've given yourself. So let's draw this as best as we can without getting crazy. Okay, that's not exactly the circle, right? But you get my point. That's like the low point of this circle. Now, at some point, we have to get the center of the chest ahead of that golf ball. So if we draw a line, and we'll do the vertical. There we go. Yeah, we got vertical back. For some reason, it did vertical horizontal last time. Let's do this in orange. I know we got a bunch of lines, but hopefully this makes sense. So the center of the chest would have to return roughly there, right, to get some natural forward press. Your center of the chest is here. So let's see if we get that at impact. So we know we got to move left based on that ball position. The ball position is a little bit too far forward. And plus we move back here. So the center of chest is shifted back. Now, do we get to that center of the chest here? Yes, we do. Look at that, right on the money. So the center of chest makes up for that. But we also go too far back with the hands and arms. So the hands and arms now have to cross back over to the center. You start to lose a lot of this lag that you could have had. And I'm not a huge fan of lag. I mean, lag can kill a lot of swings. I think this is a good compensation here. But you see those hands are already released. As soon as you strike it, that hand is already closing down. So you would like to try and keep this club face relatively square to your path for a little longer. So just a lot of timing here. I mean, look at that. Look at how short of a time it actually gets a square before it closes and opens here, where you want to try and reduce that. Give yourself a little bit more time. So let's back up some of these lines here just so we know that what actually happened did occur. 30 years, a lot of lessons when I was young. Okay. I don't want to out you on your age, but but could you let me know roughly like how long ago a lesson was? That really helps out. You don't have to tell anybody your age, just kind of a rough idea. Okay, so you can see that setup really will affect this golf ball position. And let's take a look at the down the line to see if we're able to do stuff a little bit differently here. It's a little bit too close. All right, here we go. Yeah, this is a very there's a lot of stuff going on here, Marco. This is a tough one, man. This is really tough. I had 5 lessons 2 years ago. I'm in my mid-50s now. Okay. So it wasn't that long ago. Um, and I say it's tough because it's not like I don't know how to suggest fixing your swing. It's just a tough one because of where you are in life and how much it's going to take for you to actually solve some of these issues and how much work it's going to take. And I just don't know if that's something you want to go down the avenue of. Quickest thing to work on is just change your ball position and let your body adjust naturally without thinking too much on it. But obviously, you need some sort of in swing principle too. So, first thing I would definitely suggest is moving that ball position a little bit more back. You don't want to start playing it too far back, but just move it back so you don't have to travel so much because you definitely get your weighting to your right side, and a lot of this has to do with your loss of tilting. So, if you take a look at this here, let's draw your spine angle and then your shoulder tilt relative to that and your back brace line. And then let's draw a plane line just to help see what happens. And initially, we start to see some roll right away. Look at that Barney Purple making his appearance on a live stream. So there, left shoulder's coming up, and there it's completely come out of its posture. So we're starting to stand up and lose our posture. He gets that secondary plane line again. So this could be a manipulation because you see your arms, they want to stop there, right? If you were just to stop your swing there, that's where your arms would be. They're a little too low. So to help them get to that secondary plane line is we get that extension back. That extension now, if it's going to disconnect your hands. So look at the center of your chest. Like the center of your chest is pointing. If we can draw like there, right? That's where your center of your chest is. But look at where your hands are. They've disconnected from that center and gone all the way back there. So now you've got an extra, 30 degrees of angle that you have to deal with. So you've stood up, you've got a lot of turn. And this is where what you mentioned about chasing speed, I think this is what you're talking about, where in order to chase speed, we lose a lot of tilt to get a lot of turn at the top. We start getting long with our hands to try and get that club head up. But think about all that is broken away from the core. The goal of the golf swing is to stay in your posture for the majority of your swing. If you break away from your posture in the backswing, which takes 60% of your time for the golf swing, you now have 30 to 40% left from that top position to return back to your impact position in your posture, natural forward press. But because you move so far right to left to get this weight distribution going to maybe trying to hit it as hard as you can, this is unfortunately what has probably evolved. And now you're kind of stuck with this. So you almost have to take a step backwards and say, okay, do I need to swing as hard and violently as I can? Because believe it or not, if you take a connected swing and you stay truly connected, you will use your body positioning. You will use your hand positioning correctly. You will carry over forward shaft lean correctly. Your angle of attack will be more correct. You'll actually hit it probably further more consistently than you do with this swing. This one, you can probably hit the occasional one, just blast it. Now, if you time your swing that day, like you're talking about, you can probably go pretty low because your timing's good. But, how much do you want a timing oriented swing where it revolves around that much? This is a very heavy timing oriented swing. There's just too many things moving around that you have to rely on timing. So this is something that you have to really consider before you go down this avenue. And I wouldn't do it alone. I would definitely be searching for somebody in your neighborhood that's close to you that you can go see them, that you want to invest some money into some professional assistance because that impact, you can see you're starting to stand up even more. So we've lost our spine angle completely. We've moved into the golf ball. You're trying to get the weight distribution. So you see the right foot slipping back. It's receiving the left heel, but it's more of this, the hips are thrusting towards the target, towards the golf ball, because the club's just gone too far back. So you have to stand up to get that hands to go back out in front to provide some sort of room and some flash speed because your hands need to catch up. They need to do a lot of catching up. So we don't really turn as much as we would like. If your hands are disconnected, so if here's my circle and my hands are disconnected to here, if I rotate, look how disconnected my hands are. So they have to increase the hand speed somehow. And because they're not connected to your tilt and turn, because you stand up, that's what keeps them in that hand speed connection. You have to slow down to allow, this last second flip. And we see, not really flip, but your hands have to do action and have to release their angle to make sure that club head will catch up to the turn at impact, which you do. But it's just a lot of manipulation going on here. And when you come on through, you can see your hands are exiting much higher because we are standing obviously much higher at this point, and we've completely moved into the golf ball. So, this is one area where there's just way too much going on in the swing for me to just say, hey, do this, this, and this, work with it for a couple weeks and send me a video. This is like beyond this, this, what I can offer here in an hour, or what do we have, 15 minutes with you. So I would really suggest, if you want to start anywhere, move that ball position more back, go back to thinking about staying more connected, look at your turn and tilt relationship. You don't need that extra arm position. It might be fun to hit once in a while, very long, but just look at that extra time you have to do. Remember, the golf swing is about a second long. It has a lifespan of 1 second, and you have to stay as connected as you can to give you any sort of reliability, so you can know you're going to hit this 8-iron 155 yards most of the time. But if you hit this 8-iron at 170 to 120, it doesn't do you any justice. You're not supposed to hit your irons as hard as you can. That's why you have multiple irons. You need to hit it further, take one more iron. You don't have to swing harder. Driver, I can kind of see you get that mentality. I got to swing out of my boots because you're only stuck with one driver. But irons, the whole point of irons is, you want to be consistent. So you need to just work on your consistency, tighten things up. Ball position back is a start that I would recommend, but you've got to go see somebody, somebody reputable. If you need help, I think you said you're down in San Diego area. If you need help, let me know. I mean, I have a few academies down there. I have some golf coaches that can help you, definitely tighten you up a little bit. But if you need somebody closer to you, just let me know. Hope that helps everybody. I think that's all we've got for today. And there's not much going on in the Super Bowl. It looks pretty boring still. So you guys didn't miss much. If you T-vote it, just go ahead and delete that T-vote. It's not worth anything. Commercials haven't been anything to write home about either, but I hope that helps you. Oh, Woodland Hills. Oh, so you're up in LA area. I have a site in Pomona. That might be too far for you though. But yeah, if you need help finding somebody, let me know. Just email me. I'll help you out. Hope that helps everybody. If you don't have any other questions, I'm about to sign off. And don't forget, I'll keep you guys abreast of what's going on with the YouTube channel. I might have to take a break just because of opening another location. I have to outfit it, and it's going to be a pain. But thank you. You're welcome. Eric, thanks for everything, Tony. Have a great evening. You too as well, Eric. Send me your video, Eric. It's been a while, so I want to make sure you're doing good. Hope the kids are treating you well too. All right, guys. Have a good day. I will see you soon. Fairways and green.